Hey friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today we're back in the kitchen. We are getting ready to pickle up some peppers. Now, if you're a fan of Cowboy Candy, which is just candied jalapenos, but it's too spicy and you can't eat very many, you can just eat a little bit, I might have the right recipe for you. I'm going to take that candied jalapeno recipe and I'm going to make a few safe changes, and we're going to see if we can come up with a mild version of Cowboy Candy. Thanks for sticking around. Well, like I said, we're going to try a recipe today for a milder Cowboy Candy. It's still going to have some spunk because we're still going to have jalapenos in it, but we're going to try to make it a little bit milder for us sissy people. Now, I do like Cowboy Candy, the taste, but I can only eat just a little bit, and I have to put lots of crackers or whatever with it just to cut that heat. The Cowboy Candy that I made last year, I'm finding that I'm using it to make barbecue sauces, to put on, just chop it up and put it into casseroles, or to add just a few chopped up ones in a baste for meats that we're smoking. And so I'm not grabbing it and eating it on a cracker because it's just too hot for me. And I would love the idea of having a sweet pepper and a little bit of kick and that sugar. And maybe you could put it like on cream cheese or on a cracker with cheese on it. Um, a charcuterie board would be a great thing to put this on. But I wanted to try a recipe for a milder version. Well, I searched Ball and I searched USDA and I searched all the different universities with the Extension Center, and I could not find anything that was like Cowboy Candy, only a milder version. Now, it might be out there, I just couldn't find it. So, knowing what I know about safe swaps in canning recipes, I'm going to take their candied jalapeno recipe, and this is Ball's, so we know it's been tested. I'm going to take this candied jalapeno, and instead of using all jalapenos, I'm going to switch it out for some of my sweet peppers. I've got lots of banana peppers. I've got some small red and green sweet peppers. I think I also have some chili pie peppers in here, but these are sweet peppers, and I'm going to add a small amount of jalapenos, and that way it'll still have heat, but it won't be so overwhelming that it's uncomfortable to eat. I know there's a lot of people out there that can handle that heat, but there's a lot of people that can't. So I wanted to make something that everyone could enjoy. Now, I haven't tried this recipe, so we're trying it together today, and I've got everything lined up. Remember, in a recipe that calls for peppers when you're canning, you can swap out any pepper for the exact amount of another pepper. So this is a safe swap. That is fine. So that's what we're doing. We're just swapping out a different pepper. So on this recipe, I'm going to make one batch. I know usually I'm doubling these, but since it's a test trial, we're going to do one batch. I was thinking about cutting it in half, but it's only going to make 4 pint jars, so that's fine. And we've got lots of peppers. So if it doesn't come out the way I like, I'm sure I'll find a use for it in my cooking and could even just blend it up and put it in barbecue sauce. So here's what we're going to do. We have our peppers already sliced, and I've just sliced them in rings, the jalapenos and the different peppers that I have here. And like I said, banana, I had small sweet bell peppers that are miniature, and so I could slice them without them being huge. They were red and green, and I think I had some chili pie peppers too, which are small little, look like little bell peppers that have just a little bit of heat when they become red. I can't tell that they have that much heat, so these are pretty mild chili pie peppers, but they're really a good pepper. So I've got 3.5 pounds of these peppers. I have a 1/2 pound of jalapeno peppers. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix up our brine in this pot. And we are going to get it heated up until the sugar dissolves. Then we're going to add all of our peppers to it, and we're going to simmer it for 15 minutes. And I like, when I'm simmering, to be able to have that time to get my jars all set out. On your jars for this recipe, it gives the timing for pint-sized jars. Remember, it's not recommended that you go up in size on your jars because there's no time given for a larger jar, but you can go to a smaller size jar. So I could go to a 1/2 pint jar and just use the same processing time. The processing time is going to be 15 minutes for these. So we'll mix this up. We'll get this dissolved. We'll add our peppers, and then we will start simmering it for 15 minutes. So here's what we need. Now you can use white vinegar or apple cider vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar. Remember, 5% acidity. You have to use that when you're pickling and canning. So I need 3 cups. Here's 2 cups. And 3 cups. I need 2 teaspoons of salt, and I'm using canning salt, and I finally put my canning salt in a jar, and I'm not messing around with that silly box. Makes it so much easier to get into. So we're going to have 2 teaspoons of salt, and this is canning salt. You can use pink Himalayan too. If you had to use table salt, you could in this. It's not going to be that important to have a clear brine, but using a table salt might make your brine cloudy. So 2 teaspoons of salt. We need 4 cups of sugar, and that's what's making it candied. There's more sugar in there than there is vinegar. We need 6 cloves of garlic, and I've sliced those nice and thin. And remember, those are just the little cloves, not the whole heads of garlic, just the cloves. 2 teaspoons of turmeric, and turmeric's going to make it a pretty orange color. Plus, give it a nice taste. Now, it says a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. If you don't want to have cayenne pepper in yours, you don't have to, since we're working on getting it less hot. I'm going to use just half of that and use 1/4 teaspoon because I still want to have that flavor. I just don't want to have as much heat. So it calls for 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I just put in 1/4. You can leave it out altogether. When you're dealing with dried spices, you can leave those out or add them. That's fine. And that doesn't affect the safety of your recipe. And we need 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds. Now, if you didn't have the mustard seeds, but you did have the powdered mustard, not the kind that you have in the refrigerator, but the powdered dry mustard, you could add that in its place. It would just cloud your brine up a little bit. but I don't think we're going to be seeing the brine too much because the peppers are going to be packed pretty full in our jars. And we're just going to give this a stir. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the stove real quick, and I'm just going to let it dissolve the sugar, and then I'll bring you back and we'll add the peppers. Okay, be careful not to breathe that in too much. It's pretty strong. Well, we've boiled it for we've brought it to a boil and got it boiling. Now all we need to do is add our peppers. And I don't know if you can see this or not. This is what it's looking like right now. The garlic's in there, flavoring up the brine. The mustard seed and the turmeric are flavoring it up. So we are going to be adding our peppers. Now, once we get these added, we're going to put it back on the stove, and we're going to simmer it for 15 minutes to allow that brine to be absorbed into our peppers. And you're going to find that it's a pretty full pot, and you're going to have to work those peppers down into that brine. But as they soften up a little bit, they'll all fit. So I'm going to put this back on the stove, and I'm going to go back and let it simmer. Just be careful when you're carrying that. That vinegar is strong, but it smells good. All right, so we have simmered it for 15 minutes, and it is ready to go into the jars. And before we start putting it in the jars, I just wanted to show you, last year I canned up the Cowboy Candy, and this is what it looked like. And I did leave my seeds in, so that would have made it hotter. But you can see the syrup in there. I don't know if you can see it in there, but the syrup in there is thickened. And so you want to be sure you're doing this for 15 minutes, simmering it with the lid off so we can evaporate some of the liquid, and that sugar will thicken, and hopefully it'll have a thicker brine once it's cooled. So what we're going to do is we are going to put these in our jars, and I decided, since this is something that I can see us eating with chips and crackers, on cream cheese, I'm going to put it in the smaller half-pint jars. And I've also got a couple of quarter-pint, which I thought would be really cute to put in a basket with crackers and stuff for a gift. And then I've also got some Weck jars, and Weck jars are originally made in Germany. I think they have an office now in the United States where they sell. There's a website, WECK, and these are actually a glass lid, and there's clamps, and there's a rubber gasket. But I got these back when we had a shortage of jars and canning lids, and I really like them. They're really cute. They are an investment, and so these I won't be giving away because I really like these. So these will be for ourselves, but the ball jars and stuff are easy to give away. So I also wanted to say, I don't know if I told you originally, but I took the seeds out of the jalapeno peppers, and I took most of them out of the sweet peppers. There's still a couple here and there, which is no problem, but it will reduce the heat having the jalapeno seeds out, and that's going to be great. Now, I did taste this, and it is excellent. There's a kick there, but it doesn't hurt to eat them. I really enjoyed them. I didn't eat a piece of the jalapeno. I ate the sweet peppers or the banana peppers and the juice, and it's really, really good, really tasty. And I think this is what we're going to be enjoying from now on instead of the Cowboy Candy. Now, if you like the super hot, that Cowboy Candy is perfect. but we can't handle that. So we are going to keep the milder version. Now, if you don't like any heat at all, but you like candied peppers, then you can just leave out the jalapenos. Or you can use half jalapenos, half sweet peppers. Whichever you decide, remember, just don't add additional peppers. Keep it at the right ratio. And that was 4 pounds of peppers per batch. So as long as you don't add extra, you are in good shape. So when I'm canning these, I'm going to go ahead and do the wet jars first because I know I want to put them in there. I'm going to use a slotted spoon and I'm going to just put the peppers in first. And I want to make sure that I get lots of peppers and kind of pack them down in there. And I could always come back after I do that and take any out. But I think once I push them down, they will pack nicely. I may have to make another batch of these. I've got some peppers sliced for another recipe, but man, I like this one. I don't know about the other one. I might have to forego that one. We'll see. So I'm going to put this in here like this. Now, while this was on simmer, you should have gone ahead and turned on your water bath heat. I'm using a steam canner, so I just turned mine on just now because it won't take but a few minutes to heat up. And you'll want it ready. You'll want your water boiling in your water bath by the time you put these in the canner. So I'm just going to do a couple here to show you, and then I will do the rest on my own. So I've got a skewer here somewhere. There it is. And I'll do a wet jar first. You can see how they work. So I'm just going to push them down. I'm going to top it off. Up to 1/2 inch headspace. And the wet jars are measured in the metric measurements. And I think this shape is called a tulip shape. I've got some 1/2 liters that I use. They would be like a quart. And they are really nice to have too. And I've got one that's in between this and the 1/2 liter. I guess it would be similar to a pint. Similar to a pint. So I've got that filled to 1/2 inch. Let me get my rubber gaskets. I've been boiling them. Now the only thing different you have to do with a wet jar is go ahead and boil the rubber portion, and here's what that looks like. Just like the old-fashioned kind. And I want to clean my rim first. So I've got a little vinegar here. Since this has got sugar in it, it's going to be sticky, and this vinegar will cut the sugar. And I think I need to take just a little bit of that liquid out. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we are going to take our ring, and on the glass lid, okay, there's a little groove at the bottom there, and we're just going to put the rubber around that, just like that. And then we are going to lay it on top of the jar. And then we have these little metal clamps. And we're going to use 2 of these to put it down. So what you do is you just hold it down, put the clamp on there, and then one on the opposite side. And you have it push down. Now, whenever you're canning this, it will do the same thing as these others. It will let excess air out, and then when it cools, it will pull down, and it will have that vacuum to pull that lid down. When it's all cooled, after about 24 hours of setting, I will go in and I will take the metal clamps off, and I will lift it by that glass lid, and if it's secure, it is sealed. If not, I'll just have to put it in the refrigerator. I've really had no problem with these sealing. They do really well. So that's how you do a wet jar. And then if you're just using your regular ball jars or a regular canning jar, whoops, and I need to put liquid in there still before I clean my rim. We're just going to put the brine up to 1/2 of an inch from the headspace. We're going to take our skewer and we're going to debubble. Be sure you debubble these because anything like this that's chunky, little air pockets can get in there and that will mess with your seal. Okay, everything's under the brine, but still we've got lots of peppers in there. Cleaning off the rim, getting a lid, and putting on the ring fingertip tight. So there we go. Doesn't that look good? And then here's the wick. Isn't that cute? So those are going to be going into the water bath. I'm using steam canner today. We use the same time as water bath for the steam. And so we are going to can these for, I believe it's 15 minutes. Yes, 15 minutes for my altitude. If you live more than 1,000 feet above sea level, you'll have to adjust. But this is for anything under 1,000 feet. And remember, after you've finished the 15 minutes, if you turn the heat off and let it rest in your water bath or your steam canner for about 10 minutes, that will help keep the siphoning from occurring. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and then I'll bring you back when we've got them in the canner. All right, I put the jars in my steam canner, and the recipe said it made 4 pints, and that's probably about right because this would be 1 pint, this would be 2 pints, these 3 right here would be 2 pints, and then 3 pints and 4 pints. So 4 pints is about what it makes. I had just a few left over, which I was going to save to share with my husband and taste those this evening. Getting those put in the canner, I've got a little bit of vinegar still left from washing or wiping off the rim, so I'll put that into my water to keep the jars from getting too much of a lime coating. And I'll put the lid on. Once my temperature comes up to the right level for my area, I will start timing for 15 minutes. Then I'll let it set for 10 minutes without the heat, and then I'll remove them to my counter that has a mat or a towel setting on it. So here is our delicious mild version of Cowboy Candy, and it is so tasty. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. Also, please share, like, and leave a comment. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you come back soon.